Hello everyone, welcome to my latest Vectoria Designs project, which is my Dragon Lady folio. So in this folio, I show you some pocket pages which utilize the journal pages. And we have two spines, left, right, and a nice deep pocket in the middle. And inside, we also have a little bonus project, which is a little ephemera wallet. Again, using elements from that Dragon Lady kit. And that can be a standalone project as well. Or, as you can see, you can make one to fit inside your large pouch. So, using the journal pages, making some photo mats. Now, I didn't have time in the video to tell you about the photo mats, but they are 5 3/4 by 8 inches tall. And they slide right in, if I can get it in between the pages. Just decorated then with the borders, which is one of the paper sheets in the kit. Using all these journal pages, quite a selection of them. I think we used 8 of them, so 4 of the double page spreads and a lot of the extra embellishments as well. So in the video, I'll take you through the basics. There are a few bits I haven't done. I don't finish the inside and these little bits because they're just little add-ons, and it was the same as there, just to cut down on time. I didn't show you the photo mats, but the basic album tutorial and all the pockets and things, I will show you. So I hope you enjoyed it. And grab your things and let's get going. So the first part of the folio is making the cover. So I've got my 1.5mm chipboard here, but you can use whatever thickness you want. Now I'm going to be using the tape method to assemble my cover, but you can do the traditional cardboard paper covered ones as well. But I just find I like the tape method because you get no cracking on the hinges and it's a lot quicker as well. So we're going to start off with one piece at 8 3/4. So that's going to be the height of my folio by 7.5. So 7.5. And I need 2 of them. So another 8 3/4 by 7.5. So that's my front and back. So then we need some spines. So again, they're going to be 8 3/4. And hasn't quite cut properly, so I'm just going to use my scissors just to trim those bits away. It's not a problem at all because the tape will cover all of that. So we want one spine at 2.5. And the other spine is going to come up and over, so it needs to be 2.5 plus the width of your chipboard. So for me it's 1.5mm, so I'm just going to come over like a 1/16. So it's just that little bit extra for us to come over the top. Now I'm going to mark this one plus width because they're very similar in size. So that's my plus width one. And then my final piece, I need one at 3 1/4. That is just under 3 1/4, the bit that's left. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to keep that. If you want to make one more exact, you can. So that's our cutting of the rectangles done, but we haven't finished with the guillotine yet. The front of our folio has got a nice shape to it. So I'm using my ruler now to mark 1.5 inches from this corner in both directions and joining them up. I'm going to do the same at this side. So 1.5, 1.5, and I'm joining them up. So I'm going to bring my guillotine back. I'm just going to line that up. And line it up. So now we've got the flap that comes over our folio having a little bit of extra interest. So now we've got our front, we've got our 2.5 inch spine, we've got our back, which has got that little extra bit of width on it to come up and above that so that that can go onto the front. So I'm going to start taping. So I'm using the Cool Cats frame tape here. Just a tape I think that's used in framing photographs, you know, when the profession's done it, so it's archival safe. It means you can use your photographs because it is a project designed for photography. And what I'm doing, I'm pulling back my tape and I'm placing my chipboard down the middle of the tape. So I've covered just 3 sides of my chipboard, and I'm just going to squeeze the corners, and then I just come in and cut the tape towards the corner of my chipboard. So I'm just taking out a small V shape, and I need to do that on both sides here and over the top to the other side. And the last one. It's hard to get in frame because it's quite a large piece and I'm trying to dangle it in the air. So now I've got the tape. It's just touching my chipboard, and I'm going to make sure I've got a nice adhesion there by just pressing it on. And here, and here. And then I just take my fingers, my finger and thumb, and I just start to get it folded over the edge. I'm doing this really slowly for the camera, and you'll see later on, once you've done it a few times, you'll be running away with it. And then from the center, I'm just going to make the full contact. So I've got to do that on every side. So contact, pinch to get that nice edge, and then fold it over. Now I'm going to see if I can get myself a crease. Just, yeah, right. So here now I've got a crease. With the tape, it doesn't matter because what you do, you just take your bone folder. In this case, I've got a Teflon multi-tool, and you just press it out like you're ironing out, and you'll get a nice finished edge to your cover. So that's the first one done. So that's the front. Then on my spine, that's the one with the plus the width. So I don't want that, I want the other one. You're not going to need to cover it all. We're just going to need to cover the top and bottom. So I'm just cutting it just a little bit short of the edge. And I just place it on and fold it over. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Half on and fold it over. So that's my spine. Then I've got the back cover. Again, I don't need to cover it all, just the top and bottom. So it's just a little bit shorter. Press it down and just get it all touching. This is a long piece, so I'm going to use my bone folder. And the bottom. So it's just half on, fold it over, and then the other half. Got a little bit over covering it. I could cut it off or just stick it down. Just make sure it's touching here. And then I've got my spine with a bit of width. Again, top and bottom. Now if yours is torn like mine, you really don't need to worry. It doesn't have to be perfect because most of it's going to be hidden by your papers or by the next step when we start to assemble. And then the final one is that shaped one. So now I'm going to do like I did with our first piece. Just cut that ripped, torn bit off. I'm going to lay my tape down. Oh, I seem to have collected some of my greyboard. I'm going to place that short edge down, just down the center, and keeping my tape nice and taut so I can flip it over onto that diagonal one. Then onto the long edge, keeping it down the center, get some contact, then onto the diagonal, and then onto the final edge, and then just cut the tape. Now this time I don't actually need to do a V, so all I gotta do is just cut towards each of those corners of my chipboard. And on the other side. Because these aren't 90-degree corners, that V shape doesn't matter, so we're not going to end up with much bulk. I'm going to start on my shorter ones, and exactly the same as we did before, just fold them over, fold over the diagonals, and then fold over that longer edge. And then just take your tool and give it a nice burnish. So you can see how much quicker that was than the cardstock version when you've got an awkward shape. We don't need those V's anymore. So now we're going to start to actually assemble the cover. Now if you're going to make just a normal cover, you would just have your front, your spine, and your back, then you would have 3 sides. But today we've got the wraparound cover. So now I've turned my cover. I don't know why, I always turn it that way round. So I'm working a different orientation. So I've cut a piece of my tape now, which is just a couple of inches longer each side. I've got the sticky facing up, and I'm just going to slide it so it's just catching on my cover. Now, when you're doing your cardstock covered album covers, you need that extra width between, otherwise your card starts to crack. Same with the tape, we need a double measure. Now, instead of using pieces of offcuts and measuring, the easiest way with tape is, if you line up these two corners with the corners on your spine, this also means that your sides are nice and straight as well. We're going to flip them, hold them both and flip them over, holding it together. And then when you open it up, just gently tease your tape open. And what you've got is a gap which is twice the width of your chipboard. Far easier. And you do have a little gap there. That's all you do. Take your tape, slightly longer than the gap, and you're going to fill in that gap and burnish. So that's our spine and the front. So now we're going to do the same. We're going to cut a piece a couple of inches longer each side. And lift it just so we're catching onto our spine. So now we're going to bring our back piece. So that's how it's going to look, but I just find it easier this way because I can check those corners, check that the sides are matched up with what's beneath it, lift it up and flip it over. And now when I open it up, again, we've got that gap. So let's just tape up. And again, that gap. Just got chipboard in the way. So we've got the front, our left spine. Now we're going to add that spine with a bit of extra width. Yeah, plus width. So just lift that on. Just cut off that feathered bit from the chipboard. And we're going to, again, just matching up those corners, lining up the sides, lifting it up and over. Tease apart and pull down and pull up. And we're filling in that gap. And then the last one is our decorative bit. Now this is going to be slightly different because we don't actually need that double gap because it doesn't open. Oops, daisy. There we are. We're still going to put our main cover on. Down the center. But this time, instead of doing that and folding on, I'm actually just going to put this upright, touching my cardstock, my chipboard there, and just letting it fall down. So this time we've only got a single width. So it'll still fold, and it'll come like so. So you see we only wanted it to come round there, so that's why this one is slightly different. And fill in the gap as before. So I'm just going to tease into that gap and then press it down. And that is the cover all done. So these double width ones fold really easy, then the single width one is a little bit stiffer. So later on we'll add our magnets to keep that closed when we're decorating it. So that's the cover done. So let's get our cardstock ready to make the spine and the pages. So I've got my scoreboard and my scoring tool ready. I've got my trimmer. I've got my 220 GSM black cardstock. That's what I've decided for my base this time, but obviously you can use any colour you want. And just a pencil to mark. So I like to do all my cutting and scoring in batches. So we're going to do all the cuts first. That's why I've got a pencil so I can mark what each bit is. And then we'll move on and do the scoring all together. So we're going to start off with our spine. So our spine is going to be, this is A4 cardstock, which is 8 1/4 tall. And that's what I need. So I've designed it so making the most out of our cardstock. We're going to cut this at 4 inches. This is my, I'm going to write it down because that's how we're going to stick it later. Spine. We're going to need 2 of these, exactly the same. Spine. And then what I do is I flip it over so the writing is underneath. So when I come to flip everything back later on, it'll be in order. So I'm going to do my pocket pages next. And these need to be, I'm going to need 8 of them. Now my trimmer does cut 2 at a time. So I'm going to cut 2, 8 3/4. Now the front of these pocket pages have been designed to fit the largest journal pages from the kit. So it's a bit of a strange measurement. However, using the plain papers from the kit, such as this one, you can simplify the measurement here easily. So if you're using the journal pages, cut the next piece at 5 3/8. So 1, 2, 3. If you're using the normal paper, 5 1/2. Just a slight difference. So this is going to be my pages. So because there's 8, I'm just going to label the top one. So we've got 2 cut ready. So we've got another 6 to do. So 5 3/4. And by cutting them together, what I'm doing is make sure they're the same width then. 1, 2, 8 3/4. 5 3/8. And the last 2. 5 3/8. So it's just gone through. Page. So that's my 8 pages. Then the inside of the cover has got some pockets. I'm going to cut with the longest bit across the top at 8 1/2. turn it around. For the first one I'm going to cut at 5.5. This is pocket 1, and then the other one is 2 3/4, which is what, if you're using A4 cardstock, it already is. So this is pocket 2. So again, I did that measurement just to get the most out of our cardstock. And then right at the bottom of our folio, we've got a nice deep pocket, which is 9 inches. By 6 3/4. Turn it this way. This is my deep pocket. And then the flap is 4 1/4. So I can take it from this side so I can keep a nice big piece left over. 4 1/4 by 7.5. And this was the flap to keep everything in the pocket safe. So there we go. All our pieces have been cut. So now I'm going to flip them over, and you'll see now my spine is back at the top. Perfect for the next step. We're going to start scoring now. So with the spine, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch. Now that's the bit we're going to attach our page to. And then 1.5. That is our spine piece. 1.5. So I've flipped it around, and I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. Now when I come to attach it, the word spine, I'll have it underneath, so don't panic if that's on show. So both our spines exactly the same. So 1/2 and 1.5. Rotate it, 1/2 and 1.5. And down. Then we've got those 8 pages, which are all going to be exactly the same. So long side on the top, 1/2 inch. Long side on top, 1/2 inch. Long side on top, 1/2 inch. And 1/2 inch. And the last page. So that's the 8 pages done. Then we've got our pocket number 1. So we have got 8.5 across the top. We're going to do a 1/2 inch score line on both our short sides and down one of our long ones. So it's down, across, and that side. Then pocket 2, exactly the same. Both short sides and one long edge. Flip them upside down. Now the deep pocket, long across the top, we're going to do 1/2 and 3/4. So that extra distance here, that's going to be the depth of our pocket to allow us to put extra things in the center. So across one, down one of the long ones, 1/2 and 3/4 again, and along the short edge, 1/2 and 3/4. And then the distance between those ones will be the same as our flap. So on our flap, we want to score at 1/2 and 3/4 again, 1/2 and 3/4. So now we're ready to start attaching our tape. So here we are, I've got my tape. I'm also going to grab my bone folder or my Teflon tool. I like the Teflon tool from Cool Cats. It's got a little bit of flex in it, but also Teflon won't mark my black cardstock. So on my spine, I'm going to put tape between the outer and the first score line on both sides. Down one side and down the other. So I'm going to attach all the tape now without doing anything else. So again on this one, down one and down the other. Then on all our pocket pages, again between that score line and the edge of your paper. So you can go up to your score line, but just don't go over your score line. There's page 1. Page 2. Page 3. And page 4. And then with our pocket pages, you're going to go from the edge up to that score line. So that was the bottom score line. So just going between the score lines on the short edge, both short edges and the long at the bottom. You can tape that, but it's just wasting your tape because in a second we'll be cutting it off. So again, I've got that long bit along the bottom, so I'm going to go between the score lines and then from the score line to the edge of the cardstock here. With the deep pocket, you've got that space between the two there. The tape again is going to go on that 1/2 inch part here. Just to the first score line, then between the two center score lines, and from that second score line to the edge. And with a flap, just a simple in that 1/2 inch across. And again, we're flipping over. So you can see how the system works. We're just doing each bit as we go. So I just need my scissors now. And what we're going to do, on our spine, we're just going to do a corner notch. So we're just going to notch off the corner. And that'll help us, when we got our pocket page, to slide over. And again, from that score line, just at an angle, off. So this is a corner cut, cutting away the corner up to our first score line. And again. So a corner cut. So there's one spine done. Just going to do the same again. And flip them over. The pages, you don't need to do that. No cuts on the pages. There's all 8. Now we've got to pocket 1. We are going to do a corner cut, but this time where the cross of our score lines appear. We're going to cut at like a 45-degree angle. Instead of carving on straight, I'm just going to angle my scissors slightly inwards. So it's not quite straight. If I took it straight, it wouldn't be too bad, but you have got the chance that your cardstock will overlap, causing too much thickness. So by altering that angle slightly, you're just ensuring those two sides won't overlap. So the angled corner cut on our pocket 1. On pocket 2, this isn't going to be stuck down. Actually, I didn't need to put tape on that. We're going to just do a slight angle and then cut off. It's going to cut towards that cross and down. Ignore the tape there, it wasn't needed. And with the deep pocket, we seem to have lots of crosses here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut towards that inner square. Then I'm going to cut away that square. And then cut out again. Let's have a look. You cut diagonal towards that square, cut around the square and off again. You can do it again on this side. Cut towards the corner of the square, cut the square away and diagonal again. And on the flap, just a corner cut. Now on the flap, if you did want to, you could use your corner punch to give it a bit more of a decorative edge. So there we go. We've cut all our bits. We now just need to score them. So on the spine, those two center ones are just going to come up as a U shape. And then those slim ones with your tape on, score it in both directions. You're training your cardstock to fold either way. That's where your page is going to flex. So that's why we've got this flexible hinge. So all our pages will lie flat. There we go. That's one spine done. And the other one, exactly the same again. And then train it both ways, those outer ones. And the reason I didn't burnish the tape down earlier is it's being done now. So as I'm scoring these, I'm actually burnishing that tape onto my cardstock as well. Again, page, you want this really nicely burnished because you want that fold to come back on itself. So now we've got 8 of these to do. Get it nice and flat. So the more you burnish here, the flatter your page is going to be. If you found in past your pocket pages are bowed, this could be why, because you haven't burnished your fold enough. This is where the Teflon tool comes into itself, because I can really press down and I'm not going to get those shiny marks that you sometimes get with a plastic one. So yeah, we've got 8 of these. It's lucky I didn't do more pages. Other way. And the last one. There's the 8 pages on top of the spine. Our pocket, we want nice and flat. I'm going to finish from the other side as well. And with pocket 2, ignore that you didn't need to put it on. You just want to fold back the 2 sides. Because what that's going to do is actually slip in there, but still be open. So that's why I didn't need the tape there. And flip them over. Now the deep pocket, remember you've got 2. So I'm going to fold both of those score lines. And I'm just going to give them a gentle burnish. I don't want a 180 degree fold here. I want a 90, so I don't need to squeeze and burnish hard like I have with everything else, because it's not lying flat. And then the flap. There we go. That's our pocket, deep pocket, and flap. There we go. That's our pages and our spines all ready to go. Oh, and the pockets. So the next bit now will be to assemble the whole folio. So grab the cover and grab some magnets. So here we are, we've got our magnets, we've got our cover. The first thing you're going to have to decide is, do you want your cover opening this way and then open that way? Or do you want it opening this way? Either way works. I'm going to go this way this time. Let's move the pages out the way and bring in our magnets. So my magnets are quite small. I think these are 8 mils. Usually I go for 10 or 12, but these were on a special offer. And they're 1/2 mil, so that's why I went for them. It's more for their thin, the thickness of them. They're really nice and thin. And I'm just going to put some of my black tape over there. Now the black tape is good because it smooths over the magnet, which means you get a nice softer edge when you put your papers on top. If you haven't got the black tape, just use your double-sided tape over the top. So because they're smaller, I'm going to put a few more on, but they were really so cheap that you're okay to use more of them. Let's put one there and one towards the edge here. So I'm putting plenty of magnets on today, just because they're smaller ones. But also I do want my cover to close nicely. So this is what holds the whole folio in shape and closed. So there we go. So now what I'm going to do is take a magnet and just let it drop onto each of the ones I've already put on. I'll find out later if I need another one there. So now I'm going to take some double-sided tape and just put it on top. Just spin it around so I can get it off. And this is just so when I close my folio in a second, it'll keep all the magnets when they find their place. There we go. Next one and the last one. So now you want to lift your cover and you want to close it to the place you want it to be at the end, because once you put these magnets in place here, that's the place they will find every time. So I'm just going to press down so that each of the magnets connects. Yep, the double-sided has caught each of them. And now I'm just going to, again, stick them down with some of my black tape. one more. There we go. So let's have a look. When we close it, yeah, you've got a nice clunk. It seems to be holding nicely. I don't think I'll need that extra one yet. No. Okay. There's nothing holding it, that's why it just keeps wanting to fall. There we go. So now we've got our cover. We're now going to start to assemble the folio. So we're going to start off with our spines. And with the spine now, on the back of the bottom of the U shape, I'm going to put some tape. And then we also want to add a little bit of glue, which I've since misplaced. Here we are. Got it. So I'm using some Cosmic Shimmer. So a nice strong wet adhesive. Peel off the tape. And attach some glue. Now if you've done the paper method, you'll want to cover this bit here. You can put some of your decorative paper down now if you want, if you haven't got the tape. But what I'm going to do is just use some tape to hide the greyboard. Now, the increments for our pages is 1/2 inch. But you'll notice this is 1 inch. That's because the other one is going to come in the middle here. So I'm just going to bring in my ruler, just so I can sort of have a gauge where 1/2 inch would be. So on the front page, on the left-hand side, I want my pages towards the left. So there's 1/2 inch. So my first one is at 1/2 inch. Let me just check here. Let's just move it, straighten it up. There we go. So that's 1/2 inch. Now, I did say I was going to put that underneath, but I forgot. So I'm just going to rub it off. There we are. Rub the word spine away. It's okay, we're going to be covering that later on. And oh, it's a bit high with me. So let me just bring it down. There we go. So that spine's been put 1/2 inch in. Now this time, this is the front. We want it dropped down. So we're going to take it 1/2 inch. So again, from the left-hand side, funnily enough. Just to give me an idea. This time I have got the word spine on the back. And some glue. So the glue is what gives it the strength permanently, but the tape does keep it in place now so that it doesn't move to a place we don't want it. There we go. So you can see these two bits here are going to be exposed. So what I'm going to do is that you could have put a piece of your backing paper, or your decorative paper there. I'm just going to use my tape. Just cut a piece to fill that gap. So there's that side and this side. Take it right up to that spine. go. So that's our spines in place. So now what I'm going to do is put my cover to the side for a second and bring in my 8 pages. Now, if you're confident enough, what you do is you peel off a corner of your tape, exposing just a little bit, and you line up those corners and line up this edge and press it down. So now I've made contact there. I can just pull off my tape, grab my Teflon tool, and there we go. And then again, just expose a part of it. Get your page nice and flat and press. If, however, you find it difficult to line up, just grab your scoreboard and place one page with that fold up into the corner. Then grab the other one, again, expose part of the tape. You can now just line up using your scoreboard, flip it around and do the same. So getting it nice and flat. And there's your pocket page nicely lined up. So I'm going to do it again. Fold one back. Tuck them both in. There we go. And one more. And squeezing it down nice and flat. And connecting. So there's your 4 pocket pages done. So let's bring back our cover. Now you can decorate this before adding it, but because I'm doing all the steps in one go, we're going to do it now. Now those V's we cut earlier will now just help this to slide in and on. If they were straight, you would end up having quite a struggle getting it on. Now, when we're adding our pages, I'm going to be sliding them on and stopping just shy of my score line. I don't want to go on or beyond my score line, otherwise it won't flex. So I've got some tape here, which I'm going to take off. I don't put tape on both sides because it would just stick. So what I do is I glue up the other one, because you don't want it open, otherwise everything will fall out. So I'm opening up my pocket page and I'm sliding it on until I reach my score line. There we go. So there's one. So I put glue on this side just to seal my pocket shut. And the same. So I'm going to open up my pocket and slide it on. It's easier if I fold it the other way, so I'm not making contact with that tape until I'm absolutely sure. There we go. Got a bit of excess glue on my finger. That's okay, this glue dries clear, which is one of the reasons I really like it. Again, let's seal our pocket shut. take off the tape. So I'm going to slide our pocket page on. And contact with the tape. And the last one, there's the tape off. Grab my glue. Make sure the hinge works, and that's where the tape was. And now we have our alternating pages. Now I've left enough space on there. If you wanted to put extra pockets and things on, you would be able to. But I'm going to keep them flat using those journal pages today. So now the center is going to be where I'm going to have my deep pocket. So let's get pocket 1 and 2 for now and move everything over. Now pocket 1, I'm going to add some glue just because we're going onto the board, not onto cardstock. I've peeled it, the bottom off, and I'm just going to line it up with the bottom left hand corner and then line it up along the bottom of my cover, and then just take off the 2 pieces of tape. Again, because I'm going onto the tape and chipboard and things, I'm just adding a bit of glue. Now, if you remember, this next pocket is the one I made the mistake on. I don't need that tape, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck this in so. So the score line is actually going to line up with the top of that. Now, I'm not too worried about that tape now, because when I come to put my decorative paper on top, I can just cover it up. But hopefully I caught you and you didn't put the tape on. You know my videos, it's warts and all. So lining up to that score line, and then line up the left hand side, line it up on the right. And although it's a shallow pocket, it actually goes all the way to the bottom. So if you've got large documents, you can put it in there. And let's go to the center then. The center has our deep pocket. So just like I did with the first pocket, I'm just going to add some glue. I'm going to have to move it up a little bit. And make sure you're on the chipboard. You'll see a little groove where the tape, where the gap is. We're lining up between there. And because you've got that 1/4 inch, it's a bit trickier. So just be extra careful. That's where the glue comes in handy, because you do have some adjustment time. I'm now going to take off the whole of the tape, because I want to attach glue all the way up and all the way on the other one. And I'm now going to line up, have it as a U shape, making sure the edge is on the edge of the chipboard, not going over the groove or into the channel between. Make sure it's on the chipboard and nice and straight. Get your tool in to get that contact. There we go. So we've got a deep pocket there, and then the flap, again some glue just in case I need to move it, as well as making good contact. Again, make sure it's this fold here you're lining up with your chipboard between those 2 channels again. So I'm getting contact on the sides. Just going to have to carefully lift it, get a tool in to hold it down. There we go. And here, you then can decide how you're going to close it. So page from that side, page from this side, page from this side and the left hand side. And then when you close it, you'll just slide between each other. Got pockets there and close. And that is your folio all complete and ready to decorate. So join me now in the next part where I'll show you how it's decorated. I'll take you through all the cutting. I'll also show you some more of the Dragon Lady kit and how we're going to use those journal pages to decorate those pages in a really quick fashion. So join me soon for the next part.